Is still Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. It's 12:33 p.m. as you can clearly see on my phone. I am providing a screen recording so that way we can together review the evidence against the state of California that is engaged in what is a matter of public corruption. This is terrorism. It's domestic terrorism. Unfortunately, the state of California, the public entity itself is practicing federal group stalking and monitoring. And I say it in those terms because they're practicing demonic activity, and that is what is group stalking. So if you've heard of group stalking before, I've heard of different definitions of group stalking. I've heard it referred to as gang stalking. I've heard it referred to as proxy stalking. Gang stalking is demonic. Gang stalking is that which is occurring amongst people who are necessarily acting cooperatively. It's criminal. And it's also a matter of public corruption because the state, a public entity, is engaging in group stalking. That's what I'm revealing in the state of California. And by the way, group stalking is demonic activity because the ability to engage in group stalking, which includes a very specific behavioral pattern that's centered around the person that's being gang stalked, referred to as a target individual. All of the activity that's centered around that targeted individual is pursuant to what is the demon possessed. The demon possessed have what are demonic spirits on them, and these are called monitoring spirits. These monitoring spirits enable a person that does not have to know you personally. You may know them. They may be blood related to you. You may be married to them. You may be dating them. You may go to school with them. You may sit by them in class. They may be your instructor. You may be working with them. In other words, it does not matter where you are or who it is you know, the status of that relationship, be it a stranger or someone that you know by name. It doesn't matter what their race is, what their age is. Group stalking, gang stalking, proxy stalking, state organized stalking, it's demonic activity. The engagement in what are, as I've identified them, elements of monitoring. This is speaking to a system that is necessarily occurring amongst a group. That group is massive because it's a population, and the crime scene is literally the environment. The environment is remaining everywhere that you go 24 hours a day. And I've shown which is also the evidence of what is a state system as well, because the setting for group stalking where the demon possessed, that is a population that is of this same identical condition, not coincidentally, in other words, engaging in what is an identical behavioral pattern, not coincidentally in a demonic environment. That demonic environment is exhibited as I've documented it. It's the substance of the P.O.C, this engineered light, this unnatural light, this impossible light activity, as I have referred to it. It's not sunlight. It's not even the behavior of sunlight. It's nothing close to how normal sunlight would behave. Okay. It's also not possibly the sun in the setting where group stalking is underway, which is criminal conduct that a government is engaging in. And how are you identifying that? Because first of all, where you are recognizing that unnatural environment, which is terrorism as you become aware of it, then you are recognizing how law enforcement, while in that unnatural environment, law enforcement are always present in one way or another. The hallmark in the state of California, as the P.O.C reveals, the law enforcement agencies are always present. They are persistently maintaining presence in one way or another. They want to be seen. You still see them when they're flying at what appears to be a distance. Even when they're at a distance, you can hear them making their presence known. Even when you can't see them, you can hear them making their presence known. Or they engage in what are flying directly over your head. If you're driving on the freeway, not flying. If you're driving on the freeway, driving on the streets, you see them over the street, over the freeway. And this is, again, highly malicious, but you are able to identify the fact that you are indeed the one that is being stalked by law enforcement because that setting is what you are paying attention to. Out of everyone on that freeway, out of everyone on the street, out of everyone in the neighborhood, out of everyone at the shopping mall, the light source, which is not possibly the sun, which you also show through documentation, is directly over you. All right. And it's not only over you, it's over you for the duration of the day, no matter where you are, no matter whether you're moving on foot, no matter what direction you're going, whether you're on transportation, no matter what direction you're going, no matter what time of day. This is also shown through the substance of the pattern of conduct, the documentation showing that. So it's not just presence, it's presence in that specific setting, that specific environment. that environment is no ordinary environment, which is speaking to, again, that legally relevant presence. It becomes criminal because that setting is serving a criminal purpose, which is also terrifying the targeted individual. And then that presence is also terrifying that targeted individual. It is also presence that is shared. It's occurring through the whole environment, which is further terrifying that targeted individual, because any and everyone are also engaging in what is presence, while an identical behavioral pattern coexists with that legally relevant presence in that specific environment. The entity is also engaging in what is this same demonic behavioral pattern of conduct in that specific environment, including when the target individual that's not making any movement but is active on a communication device on the internet. You are recognizing that same identical pattern of conduct, even though it's a different face. Maybe you're witnessing the pattern of conduct by somebody whose name you don't know, the clerk that rang you up in the mall. She's engaging in what is using her stapler every time you are uploading something onto your Facebook. She's repeatedly using her stapler. This is making noise. Every time that you engage in something on your phone, every time you change apps, every time you take a picture, every time you start uploading video onto your Instagram, the clerk at the mall who you don't know, okay? You're just in the store walking around. Every time you do that, though, you notice that she's using her stapler. And you're just looking at the rest of the people. You don't know them either. You're just shopping around at the mall. They're walking around, talking to their kids, holding hands, talking to each other, seemingly unaware about you. And you have no reason on the face of that situation, of that circumstance, to suspect that they're following you. But this is a gut instinct with regard to the demons who are in every regard focused on you while they don't fix their eyes on you. That is something that you can perceive. You can feel that. So this is terrifying as well. This is called malice, and this is relevant. This is a very distinct and specific and criminal purpose. The demon possessed, the entity, the third parties, the people of the state that are stalking. This is legally relevant presence in that specific environment. They are equally engaging and targeting you while keeping their eyes off of you. That's a part of their criminal conduct. It is designed to torment you. It is designed to bother you. It's designed to terrorize you. All right. It's designed to perplex you. Why is it that you feel this way? Why is it that you think this way when they're not even looking at you? They're not even talking to you. You don't even know them. The clerk isn't talking to you while she's using her stapler that just so happens to coexist with every time you're doing something on your phone, which you can notice because it's loud and it's annoying. And if you just are a conscious person, an observant person, you tend to recognize those types of patterns. It will also stand out to you when you're aware of the setting that you're in, that you're surrounded by, no matter what time of day it is. And it's a very peculiar setting. It's abnormal, in fact, when your shadows are appearing upright at a distance, when everyone's shadow is surrounding upright at a distance away from you, when everyone has multiple shadows, when those shadows are appearing above your head, when the entity is also maintaining presence all the time in a helicopter. There's always a helicopter somewhere, either where you're hearing it or you're seeing it. And then you have what is the sunrise and the sunset of the sun, no matter where you're at, no matter what mode of transportation, no matter what direction you go. That's the substance of the pattern of conduct. That is, by the way, what the ordinary target individual is subject to and has no documentation to prove it, doesn't even have the vocabulary to articulate it, and very well does not have the ability to discern that this is first spiritual and secondly criminal, and it's underway by a government that is acting maliciously by those that surround you. This is literally the government hiding amongst the people. That's very, very malicious. And it is intentionally designed to target an American citizen and even cause them, perhaps provoke them, which is the criminal purpose, to take their own life because it's tormenting. And that's a prison. You're walking around free, but you're not actually free. You're being pursued on a 24-hour basis. And you can't even explain why you feel that way or how is it that you can feel that way, even though you're not necessarily being stalked in the traditional sense by one person that you probably more than likely know. Even if it's somebody that you don't know, you become familiar with them because that one person is always stalking you. You can identify it. With group stalking, everyone is following you, but they have the luxury of not having to follow you as one person. They are indeed following you. And that following conduct is recognized because the light source remains over you. Everyone in your path is following you, including in the helicopter. Okay, including while they're talking to each other and not looking at you. Everyone around you is following you, and they're following as an entire entity, and they all have the same condition. These are demons, and they have, in other words, these are demon possessed individuals, and as an entity, they are collectively following you and intentionally doing so while maintaining a status of anonymity. And this is an illusion with regard to anonymity. The demon possessed entity knows exactly who you are, and you're able to identify that malice, because that's what that is, in the specific environment. Where the sun rises and the sun sets, the target individual is the center of the universe, and everyone is following you. This is how you will be subject to what is a federal prosecution where you live in the specific environment. That's called malice. Thinking that you can engage in what is an exceedingly malicious criminal act perpetrated by a government that is hiding amongst the people and is targeting you in every aspect of your life, 24 hours a day, which is also an exceedingly violent sex offense. The unprecedented level of invasion of privacy with the purpose to torment and psychologically terrorize an American citizen. And there is no, by the way, legal or constitutional basis to do so, to engage in criminal surveillance. The entity cannot even make up grounds for probable cause. Not only because you have no legitimacy, you have no jurisdiction where you're group stalking. You don't have any jurisdiction under the law. You're a criminal. Okay. And this is what is so unfortunate with regard to the state of California engaging in this conduct. You're removing all sense of dignity. And this is shameful that a government in the United States is engaging in this. But this is the reality. You have no legal jurisdiction. You are masquerading. And this is public corruption. You're masquerading as though you have this authority under the law, but that is not what consists of the social contract, if you will, amongst the American citizens and the government in this country. They're making it up. They're making up their authority, okay, while they are actually engaged in hovering surveillance, which the people of the state are fully compliant. They're consenting to. They're engaging in it with the state. It is unbeknownst to the targeted individual. And this is why you are a target, because you're not a part of that entity. And that entity, because it's the government, it's an exceedingly disconcerting and terrorizing prospect that the government is keeping you under surveillance, especially when you have something such as constitutional rights and you have violated no law and you are identifying what is clear stalking on its face in the specific environment. In other words, you have no right to walk anywhere around the targeted individual in the specific environment. You have no right to live at the crime scene in concert and on behalf of the state, which is the specific environment. You are exercising no privacy rights, regardless of whether you pay a mortgage or rent, where it is the specific environment where you are doing so maliciously, where the state system is underway and the state system is identified. It is established in the specific environment and where the state is directly engaged in group stalking. Group stalking is identified through the unnatural environment. You are group stalking in a helicopter, whether you are heard in helicopter in the specific environment, whether you are seen in helicopter in the specific environment. It's still engagement in the elements of monitoring, which include light activity, relevant positioning, that is presence in the path in any method, driving by, walking by, living, just staying in the path. You can sit in your apartment all day long. A 77-year-old handicapped person that doesn't move. You're maintaining presence in the path in an apartment complex. You're group stalking by address. You're manning the path. Okay, and that's criminal. So you're understanding what is the criminalization of what an entity is maliciously doing to one person. And it is also psychologically harmful. And that also is intentional. So that is all prefacing what I'm going to document right now. This is what an entity is doing on an ongoing basis, and I'm capturing the malice that's underway in the workplace. And this is serving for what is the criminal prosecution of a corrupt business, not a legitimate business. This is the government that's acting via the people of the state that use their businesses, they use their properties, they use whatever devices that whatever mechanism that they have in order to facilitate the system of group stalking and monitoring. And the people of the state have a pivotal role in that, because the government is literally relying on the people of the state to provide the face. That is in other words, behind that superficial veil, the face of one that appears to maintain a substantially similar position as a target individual. Oh, they're free just like the American citizen, myself. The target individual is free, but they're not. This is the specific environment. And the target individual, as opposed to the third party, which represents the people of the state, they are not targeted with the light source that remains over them for the duration of the day, nor do they have documentation establishing that that's the case, nor do they have documentation establishing ongoing harassment, which is also evident of the state's pattern of conduct. This is something that will be evidenced in the workplace, an ongoing pattern of harassment, an ongoing pattern of unjust treatment, because an entity is also harassing in the workplace, as I documented before I coined the P.O.C., before I coined the specific environment. There's already a pre-existing history of harassment in the workplace. And the entity doing so while I was unaware of the fact that they were also monitoring. This wasn't just harassment. This wasn't just my being unlucky. This is targeting by the people who were engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. This is while I was a practicing attorney. This is while I was also doing property management before relocating to Los Angeles. And that is, by the way, going from two distinct different industries, working from two different regions, working in San Bernardino County and Riverside County doing property management. That's how I have the light source and group stalking by Riverside PD and helicopter at Country Village Apartments, by the way, where there's never going to be a sun over Alvarado Gardens at the same time. But I also have what is practicing law, which was chiefly in Los Angeles County. And the entity was engaging what is group stalking and federal group stalking and monitoring before I was aware of it. But there is the presence of harassment by that entity and routine as I went from law firm to law firm to law firm, engaging what is harassment and inexplicable methods of harassment and intimidation and violence. It's workplace violence that you're subject to, and it's inexplicable. It doesn't make any sense. It's perplexing because all you're doing is going to work. I don't even know anyone there, and you have what are just efforts of and you're dealing with demons, and that's why. And they are hostile to perhaps your accomplishments. They're hostile to the fact that, that I'm in that position, that I'm an attorney. And this is reality of group stalking. Think about it. What type of person, what type of inferiority complex must you have to engage in group stalking someone? How do you even meet up? And this is, again, I'm speaking to in the hypothetical because you're dealing with a demonic spirit that's covering a population. And that's the explanation. It's spiritual. So you have the same demonic spirit operating over a population. This entity, this demonic entity is hostile to me because I am not of that condition, and hostile in everything about me, hostile about my accomplishments, hostile about my identity, hostile about the way I carry myself, the way that I speak, whatever it is that I'm doing in my life, the way that I do my hair, the way that I do my nails. It's entirely petty. But where you have a government that is engaging in that, that's terrorism. Okay, a government that's hostile because of the way that you're able to articulate things in an email. And so you start sounding helicopter activity. Okay, because you don't like that. That makes you feel inferior. That's what you're dealing with. That's terrorism while it's underway, though. That's terrorism. It's the government. It's not just that insecure coworker. It's the government. It's terrorism. So I want you, this is prefacing what I want to capture right now. Now, this is a screen recording. And again, it's 12:51 p.m. And I'm also going to document, the reason why I have this time written here is because, or typed here is because at 12:27, the entity, upon reviewing this screen recording that I'm about to capture right now, the demon possessed that are, again, listening, Dominic Choi knows exactly what's being exposed about him. He knows every time that I utter his name because he is demon possessed. And so are the men and women, and I'm being generous with that description. But for purposes of maintaining my professionalism, the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, I don't think that someone that's engaging in this psychotic and malicious criminal activity, because the law enforcement agencies know that they do not have jurisdiction to engage in keeping you under surveillance. They know that they don't have a right to engage in what they know is stalking, and they do so in a demonic method because they intend in every way to get away with stalking you in plain sight while at the same time psychologically tormenting you. This is the demonic endeavor. That's the purpose for engaging in group stalking. It is supposed to terrorize you while they're engaging in that which they presuppose could never be proven. That's speaking to removal of any and every chief of police that's documented engaging in what is a matter of public corruption. Where domestic terrorism is occurring on your watch, you're fired. Okay, where the entity, that department is engaging in what is a matter of domestic terrorism, you will be removed. You're talking about grounds of disbanding. Okay, the state of California can go without you. You are not above the law. You are not necessary. And we will pick up the pieces without you. We will build up from the bottom up without you. Okay, and this is going to require the inclusion of the federal government because the people of the state constitute the state of California. This is a crime committed by a population. And American citizens like myself, you're talking about what is being outnumbered, if you will. And that's not speaking to, again, that speaks to no majority. Okay, obviously the POC is speaking to that, who the true majority is. So it's not about numbers, but you're talking about legalities. You're talking about prosecution. You're talking about justice. You're talking about implementing policies. You're talking about creating resolutions. And so it's going to include necessarily the federal government. Okay, because this matter of public corruption is showing the inability to trust the people that are in that state. It's a crime committed by the very constituents, and that's tragic, but it's the reality. All right. So the people cannot be trusted. The government itself cannot be trusted. We need someone to come in and help to build again, because this is speaking to what is brokenness. It's broken. And it's a tragic situation to be in. But I'm speaking to 12:27 p.m. This is in every way malice. The entity is not targeting flying over my office, not flying at a distance and amplifying the sound inside of my apartment. The light source is directly over my apartment now. And the entity flew directly over my apartment as I was reviewing these videos that I'm preparing to show you right now. And that's why Dominic Choi shall be removed from his position permanently, and he will never work in law enforcement ever again, because American terrorism in the United States is occurring on his watch, which he is not ignorant of. He's not ignorant of that. And like I stated, the demonic activity, that malicious targeting is continuing to the very minute, continuing right now. Okay. So like I said, that is speaking to the prosecution for an entire entity as well. While this corrupt agency is engaging in this criminal conduct at 12:27 was simultaneity to my reviewing the evidence that I'm preparing to show you on a screen recording right now. The entity flies over and engages in what is, again, it's both pathetic, and it's also, remember, it's the government that's bearing weapons, wearing badges, engaging in what is masquerading as though they have authority under the law, because their criminal system has yet to be exposed and for them to be prosecuted for it. That's terrorism. That's terrorism. Okay. And they're doing so with knowledge of the fact that you are in the process of exposing them, documenting them. That's psychotic. Okay. Psychopaths, the demon possessed, they will be removed. They are disqualified from being in law enforcement. Okay. And this is America's version of terrorism. This is what is occurring. This is not some third world country. This is California. We're supposed to be a leader in more than one way. And this is actually what's happening amongst, I want to be clear, actually probably one of the most worldwide known police departments. I mean, in every way reflecting what is debased and depraved and entirely disturbing. And it is indicative of the entire department. I just want to let you know, in the same way, it's not just one or two demons in the neighborhood. It's the entire population, and it is the entire department. And the evidence demonstrates that. Okay. So in the specific environment, as I'm pointing out, it's 12:56 p.m. The entity is maintaining a light source over me. And in these two videos, I'm going to juxtapose for you so you can see up close what is the specific environment and the insurmountable evidence of what is being prosecuted for what is the state system. And it is also understanding what is demonic activity. So the demon possessed are group stalking you. The demon possessed are group stalking in concert and as the government in concert with the state. Okay. The government is group stalking you. The government is practicing, as I put it, federal group stalking and monitoring. So you are able to identify that targeting that you are the subject of in the specific environment. They're flying off in the distance in a helicopter. Where's the sun? The sun is directly over my head. In addition to that, the sun is at the same address for the duration of the day, both rising and setting in alignment to me, which is impossible. That's not the natural environment. How is Florida ever going to see the sun under such circumstances? In addition to that, the P.O.C. is so complete, it's so comprehensive that there is a body of evidence that pre-existed my relocation to Los Angeles, also providing for the inability for there to ever be a sun at any time of day over me at any location at the property, over the hillside, or through my bedroom window in the evening, creating any sort of this sunlight, which none of it is sunlight. It's engineered light that's clearly appearing on my ceiling and magnified in size and literally growing as I capture videos. It's demonic. You can even see the evidence of the demonic in the light activity. Okay. But like I said, none of this is occurring because of the evidence speaking to exactly what it is, a specific environment, not the natural environment, because as I have this pre-existing evidence of the specific environment, the setting where group stalking is underway, that is also speaking to what is the impossible ability that's in, excuse me, the impossibility that it is the natural environment. Because like I said, before coming to Los Angeles, the sun is not going to be present over the Ovid Family Community Library from, as a matter of documentation, just off the top of my head, 8 o'clock in the morning until 6:39 in the afternoon, in the evening. That's not the natural environment. And that's what the evidence provides, though, because I went to the extent to have to document that, while you will also see very heavy duty stalking using helicopters, which are what these corrupt law enforcement agencies engage in. And then while doing so, they masquerade as though they have authority in concert with the people of the state, making up information because they're hostile and at the same time fearful. And what is the public safety concern? This entity engages in more criminal conduct, engages in more outward expressions of aggression, such as making up information about your engaging in some crime for that corrupt agency that is stalking you to then arrest you. And that's called a kidnapping. That is no false imprisonment. That's no ordinary assault and battery. That's kidnapping by an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, to be precise. And that's exactly how it's going to be prosecuted. This act of kidnapping is underway at what are the specific environments that I've documented. And then the entity is keeping a light source over me in LA at the same time. And this is how you are going to choke the life in federal court with regard to the public entity that's engaging in this malicious crime. That is a crime committed by a population, by the community. And that's also justice requiring that you permeate the lives of that entity. Okay. So I want to be clear. It's 12:59 p.m. And the entity is maintaining this light source over me, as you saw in the video captured this morning. And it's 10:42 in the morning. And you're looking at a couple of things. First of all, it's very demonic what you're going to see the LAPD engaging in. Their location. Hold on, I want you to hear this. Okay, that's the evidence that's going to result in what is Dominic Choi being permanently removed from the LAPD while ongoing surveillance is underway. That's audible activity in the specific environment. The light source remains over me, which is a scientific impossibility. You saw the so-called sunrise at 7:12 this morning. The sun is still present as I walked to my apartment after 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a passage of time of over 5 hours, which is a scientific impossibility. And it's still over my apartment right now. And I've already captured this crime scene. I've already established the specific environment. And so that is subject to what is, again, prosecution for the sex offense, because the demons of the LAPD are engaging in what is invasion of privacy and federal stalking in violation of Title 18 while they are engaged in the elements of monitoring. Okay, so that light source that remains over me right now, you saw this light source in video, and the demons that you hear in the background are the demons that you see flying in a circle. What is significant about flying in a circle? The demon possessed are engaging in what is maintaining presence in the engineered environment, meaning the light is the impossible light activity. It's the engineered light. It's that peculiar light. It's special light. It's not normal light. It's not sunlight. Sunlight doesn't bend under covering structures, doesn't reach into the depths of rooms. It doesn't create the shape of that which it touches. It'll create the shape of the window, appear on my roof, appear on my ceiling, appear also on the ground, and then ricochet on the building outside on the opposite side of the parking lot, and appear all over the sidewalk at any manner of trajectory of light. That's not sunlight. Okay, that's engineered light. The engineered light remains, the engineered environment, remains 24/7 at day and night. And that's not even possibly the sun. And this is evidence speaking to the identification of targeting. In the first video, targeting is recognized because I am inside of my office and I'm hearing helicopter activity, just like I heard right now inside of my apartment. Any and everything where you're recognizing the specific environment is serving for ongoing targeting. So like I said, the presence of one is speaking to the presence of all elements. So this is the P.O.C. that's ceaselessly underway. You're not group stalking at 1 o'clock in the morning, and then you're not group stalking until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. That's not how it works. It's ceaseless, it's cyclical, it's serial, it's constant. It's terrorism. Okay, so this is what I'm documenting. And at 10:42 in the morning, and you are recognizing the pattern of conduct. And I want you to see the light source that's over me at 10:42 in the morning, while you're looking at what is a demon that is pacing. Pacing occurs in a helicopter by flying in a circle. This is literally a person that's affiliated with a law enforcement agency that is engaging in stalking in plain sight. And the ability to identify the fact that this is a stalker is because the specific environment is focused on me. It's directly over my head that speaking of the light source. And you see that because my shadow is seen right at my feet. That's speaking to the immediacy of that light source, and it's right over my head. And in this video that I'm honing in, this same location on the property, hours later, which you saw yesterday afternoon, the light source remains over the same property at 4:49 p.m. specifically. You will see that in the video. You'll see the time, and that's the benefit of taking these screen recordings, because we're looking at the same information together. And you are witnessing the demonic, and you're witnessing the demonic behavior by those who are jointly engaging in demonic activity. And it is referred to, for purposes of prosecution, federal prosecution, it is group stalking, federal group stalking and monitoring, because it's a violation of your rights and it provides jurisdiction at a federal level for the federal government to prosecute the state. And also because the entity, as I've also documented, intends in every regard to avoid, you will not get justice from that entity that's engaging in the criminal act against you. It's an inherent conflict, by the way, but they are incapable, in the same way that they are incapable to stop group stalking, they are incapable of providing redress in the facilitating venue that are the courts, in the facilitating venue that is the whole state of California. The state is incapable of providing redress in its courts, which are all facilitating venues, while that state is group stalking you. And I also documented that. The criminal evasion of service of process by the same group stalker, the Sheriff's Department, the same group stalker, the San Bernardino Superior Court. Ongoing criminal acts of fictitious prosecutions while they are kidnapping, and group stalking by the group stalking police departments, by the group stalking sheriff's departments, who are also engaging in group stalking in their facilities, where the entity maintains a light source from day until evening and engineer light inside of those facilities, where the deputies and the demon-possessed inmates, the demon-possessed medical workers who are making up information about your mental health, which is criminal defamation. And everybody engaged in that is going to federal prison, by the way. But the entity is engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, and they all have multiple shadows, and they enter and exit the facility pursuant to what it is that you're doing. It's the same demonic features. It's occurring in a different facility. It's a facilitating venue. I mean facility literally. That's a facility of the state, and it's also a state facilitating venue where the criminal system is being enabled. Okay. The criminal conduct is underway at this state facilitating venue. That's what I mean by stating that the facility itself is a state facilitating venue. And then you have the court, a facilitating venue, where I have captured the fact that it is indeed the crime scene. The light source over my head, engineer light moving across the building while somebody supposedly just driving a car. That's impossible light activity. And it's also impossible while I'm remaining now in LA. And then you have, how is the sun ever going to be over the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court or over the San Bernardino Superior Court? This is how you're prosecuting the government. This is how you're recognizing what the government is doing. The government is group stalking, and no ordinary person is engaging in group stalking. Obviously, this is a mentally disturbed person to engage in stalking for so long, but group stalking is underway by a demon-possessed entity. And this is revealing the secrets of the population in California. Okay? A heavily populated demon-possessed entity is engaging in group stalking, targeting an American citizen such as myself. And I'm documenting not only what demon possession looks like, and that's what you're going to see in this video, but also what demon possession acts like. It includes coming in the workplace, smiling in your face while the entity is group stalking in concert with that corrupt government in a helicopter, which is a well-documented pattern and intended to terrify you and psychologically torment you, and do so in the workplace by one who is supposed to be a superior. That's intended to intimidate and threaten you, while they're also aware of the fact that you're documenting it. Okay. And that's what Maria Solis Alvarez, in concert with the LAPD, are documented engaging in today. And it's in the specific environment. It's pursuant to a well-documented pattern of conduct. That's why she's going to federal prison. That's why Dominic Choi's fired. Okay. They are demons acting in concert. So in this video, that was lengthy, but I want you to recognize in this video, the entity is engaging what is pacing, flying in a circle. This is demonic. This is a demon that's flying a helicopter. Let me be clear. This demon represents the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department. And they're doing so in a specific environment. This is also how you know that this is a demon, because also not only are they pacing, the light source is directly over my head. That demon is group stalking. And you also know that this is a demon because of the light source that's over me, because group stalkers are demon possessed. Also, you know that this is a demon because the audible activity of the sound of this helicopter at this distance, it is impossible that I could hear it inside of my office, but that's exactly what I heard. And that's why I walked out and started capturing video. That's how you know that this is a demon. Okay. And this is also on its face, understanding The fact that this is demonic is terrorism that's going to be prosecuted. The state of California is going to be prosecuted for terrorism. And also, it's terrorism while a government is keeping you under surveillance in violation of your constitutional human rights for no legitimate purpose, in concert with a population that is maintaining presence all around you in very malicious methods, and doing so the passive aggressive tactic. And even as they engage in what are threatening you, oh, I'm going to call the police on you, while their group stalking, like Center for Better Life did, that's also threatening as well. Okay. But you're revealing what are psychopaths that are violent sex offenders. These are the secrets of the demon possessed. Sexual violence is rampant. They're engaged in massive invasion of privacy. You have a whole population that knows the moment when I pull my panties down. And the reason why I say that is because I need you. I don't really want me pulling my panties down to be a visual in your mind. But the reason why I have to be so graphic is because you need to understand the level of perversion that is inherent to group stalking. You have no privacy. Fathom, if you can fathom in your mind, everyone knowing the moment when you're nude, and they choosing at that moment to engage in a method of audible activity that, again, because you're documenting it, so the entity knows that you're aware of it. The entity will engage in what is sexually motivated monitoring tactics to offend you. That's a sex offender. That's very disturbing. The fact that the entity is engaging in surveillance that is monitoring you at all moments, including when you're physically indisposed, including when you're engaged in personal private activity, including in the private space. Okay. And this is just group stalking. I have not gone into the details of the entity placing cameras, placing any other devices. These corrupt law enforcement agencies using devices where they can have insider view inside of your private space or workspace, wherever it is that you're at. I'm not even going into that. Okay. And that, by the way, the prospect of that is added psychological torment and terrorism. Okay, the government has no business doing this in the first place. But these are all the reasons why you know that this is a demon. And I'm documenting this as I am walking outside of my office. Alexa, turn off the alarm.
1:10 p.m. alarm canceled.
Okay, so it is currently, this is video captured at 10:42 a.m. Group stalking. And it's occurring in the workplace. Targeting is recognized. Hold on. Excuse me, in the workplace. Okay, that's P.O.C. That's the impossible ability to hear helicopter activity. This is speaking to what is group stalking. And it's occurring in the workplace. Targeting is recognized through the maintenance of the light source. Targeting is recognized through the amplification of helicopter activity. Targeting is recognized through the presence and the path in concert in that specific environment. And this is demonic activity. This is terrorism. Speaker companies is going to be prosecuted civilly and criminally, and every employee is going to federal prison. And this is group stalking by the corrupt agency that's, by the way, demon possessed as well. You see them group stalking under a light source that's present in the morning, rising in alignment to my apartment. They're group stalking at night while engineer light is on my ceiling inside of my apartment. They're group stalking flying over this same property while the light source is over me at 4:18 in the afternoon. This is demon possession exhibited by a corrupt law enforcement agency, and that's why they're engaging in this criminal stalking system. This is demon possession revealed, and this is the why as to the public corruption. And they're literally flying in a circle, and it's impossible that I could hear that helicopter activity. That's the evidence of group stalking. And that's a demon flying a helicopter. Dominic Choi is fired. Dominic Choi is disqualified from being in law enforcement because he is of this condition, demon possession. And the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department are going to be removed. This is the evidence of what is the domestic enemy, keeping American citizens under surveillance in concert with the people of the state. Understand that what the entity is doing in helicopter is speaking to what the people of the state are doing in that same environment. And the light source is directly over me. This is P.O.C. This is my shadow right here. This is the light source right over my head. This is the evidence of what is targeting. The light source that was through my living room window, this is the same hillside that was at 7:12 in the morning. And it's 10:42 when I captured that video. So I want you to see I'm at the same property. Okay, and where am I standing at 10:42 in the morning? This is Alvarado Gardens. So let's take big picture analysis. I'm standing right here at my management office. I'm standing right here. You can see where this dot is appearing, so you can see it on the screen. My office is right here. I walk out. I walk to the gate. LAPD is in the distance over here, flying in a circle, being a demon. Okay. The fact that that distance, and I hear it in my office, that's how you recognize targeting. This is how you know you're being targeted. You also know that I'm being targeted because as I stand here at 10:42 in the morning, the light source is directly over me as I stand outside of my leasing office at 10:42 in the morning. Remember, this morning at 7:12 in the morning, inside of my apartment where I'm at the same property. So we're just gonna walk up here, feet away. This is where the sunrise is present. And this is captured this morning at 7. Okay. 7, 8, 9, 10. This is over 3.5 hours later. This is non-movement of the light source as I'm walking in the direction. That's non-movement. The sun that's supposedly rising and setting, rising in the east and setting in the west, that does not mean rising on the east side of my apartment and setting on the west side of my apartment. That's necessarily what the entity is engaging in. In addition to that, there's no sun that's ever going to be over the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court at 10:29 in the morning, like I documented, or at 9:42 in the morning, like I documented. Like I continuously point out, the light source is literally moving at a downward direction. By downward, I mean as I walk from my apartment at building 1806 and just walk in the direction which I believe is south to get to my management office. The light source is remaining over my head, and I'm on the same sidewalk path where I was looking at the sunrise at 7 in the morning. Number one. Number two, what you're going to see the next video is I'm at the same property yesterday afternoon, and I'm standing right here where you see this red, and I'm tapping the screen so you can see it. I'm standing right here, and I'm beside building 1818. I'm standing facing the parking lot, and you're looking at the light source that's at the same property, and the light source is directly over the same property at 418. Excuse me, it's specifically 449 when I'm the minute that I'm capturing this video, and you can see it on my screen. So we want to capture the same property 10:42 in the morning here, and then we've got 4:49 in the afternoon while I'm standing here. You have group stalking by the LAPD while the light source is directly over me here. And you're recognizing targeting because I'm being targeted with amplified helicopter activity, which is impossible for me to hear based on the distance that you can see with your eyes. In addition to that, you have what is 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 hours later at 4:49 p.m., which is what the entity suggests. While I am yesterday capturing video of what is supposedly the sun, it's not possibly the sun, that would still be at the same address. Again, even that it's rising this morning at 7:12 in the afternoon, 7:12 in the morning, and I'm looking at it through my living room window, and then 4:12 in the afternoon, 4:49 to be exact, while LAPD is flying directly over the property, speaking to targeting, and the light source is still remaining over the same property. It's literally on the opposite side of my office. I'm just on the opposite side at the same property, and the light source is directly over the property where you see LAPD group stalking and helicopter in concert with the people of the state. Demons that do not have to talk to you. They're walking by. Carla Lopez at the shop right here, crossing path. Maria Solis Alvarez walking across from the office, crossing path. They're group stalking on video, creating light activity under a light source that's not possibly the sun, duration of time. And a comparison of crime scenes is the ongoing analysis for that. And this is just for purposes of exposing the system of group stalking operated by government. It's not rocket science, the fact that the sun is not possibly going to be at one address for, let's say, from 7:12 to 4:49, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, for 9 hours. This is one address from one building. I'm at 1806 to 4, and I'm here on the opposite side of the same property. And I'm showing that you're looking at the light source. Spectrum is group stalking. The people that say Abigail Peckman is crossing paths, she's group stalking as she drives out of the parking lot. The LAPD is group stalking while they fly over the building, over the parking lot. And the light source is over the same property. I just want to be clear. The light source is clearly moving from this side of my management office to this side of my management office at the same property. And this is over a duration of 8 hours. Yeah, 9 hours, 8, 9 hours. That's capturing the specific environment. And this is a pattern. This is revealing the crime scene where federal group stalking and monitoring is underway, and it is maliciously the guise under which a government is stalking you and trying to hide amongst the people. Everybody that lives here is group stalking 24 hours a day. That's what you see Luis Ramos coming out of his apartment engaging in. That's what you see Lucy Santos coming out of her apartment engaging in. They're moving around in the engineer light. It's present 24/7. The entity is stalking in helicopter, amplifying the sound of the helicopter. You don't see any helicopter though this morning, right? You don't have to. The ongoing pattern is already established. My credibility also is already established. The engineer light that's inside of my apartment is already established. You see the impossible light activity, the entity is group stalking. And you already know that the entity is group stalking by the state. So the ordinary target individual that perhaps is not capable of capturing all angles of the crime, you already know that the other exists because you are establishing and recognizing the setting. This is how a corrupt government is terrorizing American citizens and then trying to criminally defame them and make them look like a paranoid schizophrenic, which then the demon possessed entity that corruptly uses those who call themselves medical professionals that are criminally defaming and they're group stalking, as I have documented at the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. And everybody engaged in that act of kidnapping is going to federal prison. So this is the pattern. This is the state's pattern. So it is 4:18 where I'm going to show you this. Again, the video, this is a demon that's flying in a circle while I'm, and the light source is over me while I'm by my management office. I'm at the same property at 4:49 p.m. yesterday afternoon. And that's what you're going to see here. This is workplace terrorism, and the entity is engaging in group stalking in the specific environment. So I want you to pay attention to the following. Everyone that you see is going to federal prison. 4:49 p.m. Same property. Crossing path. Demons keeping their back to you, and they're monitoring you. Audible activity, relevant positioning, light activity under a light source that's not the sun. LAPD, which is going to be disbanded. P.O.C. This is terrorism and workplace terrorism. And these are demons. That's a demon. This is a demon. There's a demon operating this commercial vehicle. And that's a demon that calls themselves as Supervisor Maria Solis Alvarez. P.O.C. And this is the light source. The light source is remaining directly over the property, and you can see the time. It's 4:49 p.m. This is workplace terrorism. The entity is maintaining a light source over the property as though that is the natural environment, which you are supposed to be ignorant of. The engineer light is also the evidence that already remains on the record. Engineer light covers all of the property. What I'm showing you with regard to the engineer light, the upright shadows, the magnified shadows, the multiple shadows at night, none of this is sunlight that's covering all the grounds. They're creating light activity while they're walking in it, driving in it, sitting in it, flying around in it. What you hear is audible activity amongst the engineered light under a light source. This is serving for what is monitoring by an entire population. And you are recognizing that criminal act executed by a government in concert with a government in concert with a population, which is a matter of public corruption. You're looking at the time that the light source is here. This is 4:49. I want you to see that one more time. And the entity is engaging in group stalking in the specific environment. So I want you to pay attention to the following. Everyone that you see is going to federal. It's 4:49 p.m. Okay. This is the light source that's directly over me. And these are demons operating this commercial vehicle, and that's a demon that calls themselves as Supervisor Maria Solis Alvarez. P.O.C. And this is the light source. It's directly over the same property. Okay, as you see it at 10:42 in the morning. I'm standing on this side of my office at 10:42 in the morning. I'm standing over here beside building 1818. Spectrum is parked in the handicap spot right here. The light source is over the same property at 4:49 p.m. Again, let's count together. 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 6 hours from now. That is not the sun. Okay. And 10:42, that would be 11, 12, 1. Florida is 3 hours ahead of us. There's no sun that's going to be in the state of Florida at all while it's remaining over the property as a matter of documentation, because that's what you have to do to prove that a government is group stalking you, because it's demonic in its nature and it's occurring in plain sight. And that's part of the psychological torment that the ordinary target individual is subject to, because the entity is engaging in that which is supposed to appear on the surface as normal, causing you to question your own sanity. The ordinary target individual is subject to that. And this is intentional. This is demonic activity. This is the desire of a demon-possessed entity. This is in every way the criminal purpose of engaging in group stalking by a corrupt government. Okay, so I want to make sure that you see that. This is what the entity is witnessing while they are sounding helicopter activity over my apartment at 12:27 p.m. And again, for you to hear on video, I will be uploading all of this video evidence. There is the duration of time is the first aspect of evidence. The sun is not going to be rising in alignment to me, as you saw this morning at 7:12 in the morning, just so that you can see that. The light source is over me as I capture the so-called sunrise, 7:12. You can see the time. California, including Lucy Santos. 7:12 in the morning. All right, engineer light inside of my apartment as though that's sunrise. And you see that light source, that light activity grows in real time. And that's entirely demonic. It's not sunlight. It's impossible. It's also impossible while the light source is documented in an entirely different region over a term of years, establishing the crime scene where I was subject to the pattern of conduct. Make a relocation to Los Angeles. You've got the sunrise and the sunset here at the same property through the windows of my apartment. Okay, that's not only impossible on its face, it's extremely impossible while I'm showing it while I'm inside of the same apartment from morning until evening. Covering up the light source for half of the day is no deviation from remaining the specific environment. It's no deviation from the pattern of conduct. That's called malice. by an entity that's monitoring your documentation. Everybody's going to federal prison for that. I cannot stress that enough. Okay. It is also occurring in the workplace.
Analysis. First of all, this is supposed to be a cloudy day. On its face, the entity is maintaining engineered light in the same exact manner that you see.
Okay, this is the light source that's over the hillside. 3.5 hours later, it's over me while LAPD is group stalking in a helicopter, flying in a circle, being demons. And the entity is then maintaining the light source while I am,
in the workplace. Okay, that's P.O.C.
Flying in a circle, being demons. That's demonic, very demonic. That's terrorizing on its face, by the way. All right, amplification, direction of the engineered light. The light source over your head and flying in a circle, that's terrorism on its face. Those demons are stalking, and that's a law enforcement agency that's engaging in demonic conduct. That's terrorism on its face. The light source is directly over my head.
I shot it right here. This is the light source right over my head.
All right, and this is again the sunrise at 7 in the morning, 3.5 hours later, 7:12 to 10:42, and then you have at what is 4 in the afternoon yesterday. And again, where am I moving? I've gone nowhere. I'm at the same property, building 1806, down to my management office. 4:49 in the afternoon at the same property on the opposite side of that same building, and the entity is stalking in helicopter, being demons. That's what demons do in a demonic environment. And that's the evidence of that which you cannot see. But what you can see is the unnatural environment as it's captured as a matter of video and images so that you can see it with your own eyes. Their demon possession, which is physically invisible, is made manifest as you understand the legally and spiritually significant behavior in that specific environment. That's how you know all of the above. You know that they're demons, which is relevant for prosecution for terrorism. You also know that they're group stalking, a malicious criminal act committed by a government that's engaged in public corruption. It is currently 1:24 p.m. This is P.O.C.